Hey guys, Corrie here with the next installment of the Rainbow series. So today is blue. You would have thought that I had so much blue stuff in my stash, and I gotta tell you, I really struggled to find blue stuff. Like almost everything I had was more of like a teal, which how weird is that? I mean, it wasn't really blue. It all had this like greenish tint to it. So I was like, no, can't use that. So anyhow, I struggled. But anyhow, it's coming together. It came together and I really love the way it came out. So, first thing I did is I just went through my pattern papers and I'm going to create the edge of the page. So I'm just going to adhere all these down, and I want to make sure that I've got like this good, mix of papers and different shades of blue, and just kind of get them all on there. Um, the pictures I'm using are from my eighth graders, like my daughter when her eighth grade soccer season, which was like the best soccer season in the entire world. And these pictures are hilarious. I took them of her after the last game. And I know that the grass in all the pictures is very green, but her uniform the shirt is this great Carolina blue. And so that's kind of what I'm basing it off of right there. So even though the layout itself is somewhat monochromatic, the photo doesn't have to be. So it just needs to work with the page. So I've got my 12 by 12 here. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the side, and then I'm going to cut it back down to 12 by 12. So I didn't want to cut my cardstock before I had put the edge on there because I didn't want to get it off, and that was the easiest way to do it. I then also added some stitching. Although I had glued all these papers together, I figured just some decorative texturized stitching down on the bottom would help everything stay together. And then I'm going through all of my inks and I'm pulling out every blue ink that I can find. So I've got all these different ones, Mr. Huey's, I've got acrylic ink, I've got the Heidi Swaps, I've got Dilutions, all of them. And all I'm going to do is then basically color on my page with the different inks all the way up and down, just to get all the different blues on the page. I think it just looks pretty cool. This is like back in the day when I used to scrapbook all the time. This was something that I loved to do, was to just, kind of draw with the dropper from the ink bottle on the page. I loved how messy it got, but it was a great way to just get like little bits of color on there. You couldn't always control it, but it was just, I always thought it was a really fun way to do it. So that's what I'm doing here. This is an acrylic ink that I got from Hobby Lobby, and what a great color, and I just really love that. And then just getting all the rest of them on there, here and there. Now these all dried pretty quick, which was great, and then I could keep going on my page. I think I did help it out just a little bit with my heat gun, but it didn't really take much, which is super awesome. Because I am so impatient. I really hate waiting for stuff to dry. I think that's the biggest problem I have with paints, is like sitting around and waiting for them finally to get dry. So then got my photos, layer those on the page. One of them I'm gonna pop up with some foam dots because that's the one I really wanted to be kind of like centered, or the focal point. So I just gave it a little bit of height. And then I'm going to go through the things that I pulled out of my stash that are blue. So I don't know about you, but I've got like 8 zillion of these shaped paperclip things. So those are always fun. Those are one of those things that I had trouble throwing out years ago when I had all of them, because I thought that I needed every color under the sun, all stars or all cameras or whatever. I did go through them, and what's funny is I like to, when I go to the bank or whatever and I have to make a deposit or whatever, I actually use these shaped paper clips. And more often than not, the bankers, they don't give me the shaped paper clips back, which means they're keeping them for themselves because they're so cool. I've caught on. So this one here, I'm putting her initials on the page, of course. I always have to put the initials on, or name, something, because I really hate when I look at a picture and I'm like, I can't tell who that is. And obviously that doesn't happen now, but like some of their baby pictures look so similar that I'm like, whew, man, I don't know. We figure it out, but definitely go ahead and help myself out because, I don't, as I get older, it could get worse. I did try to decide. I struggled a little bit about which color blue to do the title with, and I landed on these. These came in a Hip Kit Club kit from forever ago, and I think they're one of my favorite fonts, so that made it really easy there. And then I just went with the light blue too. When I put the darker blue on it, you just couldn't, it didn't pop up as much. I think because, some of those blue lines are a little bit darker, so these worked really well. And then I did want to put 8th grade on there, but I didn't have enough on there, so I just put GR8, so for grade 8. So that way I had that recorded as well. She is starting a new school next year, so her colors and everything else will change, but I figured I needed to make sure that I want to make sure I get all the details on there so there's no question. Hey, Mom, what grade was that? Was that 7th grade or 8th grade? Nope, it was 8th. We know now. And then, of course, I'm going to get some journaling on the page. I actually wrote more than I had originally planned. Otherwise, I would have gone up a little bit higher so that it was all above the title, but I didn't. There was a lot to say about that season, apparently. So it's okay. It worked out. It's all surrounded. It didn't go down too far, so that's good. I do love working with these color pages. I think it's really, really fun because I don't necessarily have tons of supplies, which, or backgrounds or whatever. So I really have to, kind of push it a little bit. And my stash, which I've noticed it's shrinking, which is great too, right? Because instead of keeping a ton of stash, but it's really working out that my stash is going down, and it was fun because I actually got to throw away empty packages, which was awesome because I was using things up, and I think that's sort of what we all want to do. Although I love to collect scrapbooking supplies, I do find it harder since there's no scrapbook stores really around here. It's harder to collect. And then also, I love being with Hip Kit, so I just try to get my supplies basically from them. I do get a couple other things here and there, but using things up is it's rewarding. I mean, I'm telling you, like, to throw empty packages away, like, thrilled me. And so definitely try these color pages. It's so fun. I use a couple of these rub-ons. I did find these at like Hobby Lobby, and I actually have never really bought things from Hobby Lobby before for scrapbooking. I always seem to go to Michael's, but I think Hobby Lobby had like a pretty nice selection. At least the end caps had really cool stuff, which, I feel like the end caps always have great stuff. So just putting on a few rub-ons here and there, and just gonna finish things up with some enamel dots. I do love these. These are great for just like getting those last bits of color on, a little bit of dimension, things like that. I've always loved these enamel dots. My favorite ones are the really tiny ones. I don't know. It's like as soon as they get a little bit bigger, I'm like, not as cool. But the little tiny ones are great because they almost look like just more little splatter dots. And so they work really well. And guys, that's it. So that is blue. Next week is green, and that page is ready to go as well. So I hope you come back and join me for that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them for me in the comment section, and I'll be happy to get back with you. Otherwise, thanks so much for stopping by, and you can always find me creatively on Instagram at Corrie J Creative. Bye.